Hello, it's Mr. Westra here with Half Brother reading number 30, part number 1. Just to give you a heads up of where we've been. So last time we read, Ben and Sarah found out that Dr. Helson was going to sell Zan to the Thurston Foundation. That's a medical research facility. So rather than let that happen, they decided to steal Zan. And they have arrived home, back at their home. Richard has been... Dr. Helson called Richard to ask if he knew anything about it. Ben left Sarah and Richard to fight over that while Ben went and put Zan to bed. So that's where we leave off. So here we go. This is chapter 24, Zan at Home. Zan and I slept late, even though I'd forgotten to close the curtains. I think it was the breakfast smells coming from the kitchen that finally woke us. Bacon and toast and coffee. Zan still looked a little confused by the room and his blankets and toys, and he was bewildered enough to let me get a diaper on him and a clean set of clothes, which were really too small for him now. We had a good game of hide and seek and tickle hug, and then went into the kitchen to get something to eat. Dad and Mum were already there, and Dad was saying, "Helston's being reasonable. He won't call the police if we return Zan right away." I guess they hadn't really settled anything last night. Through the doorway to the living room, I saw someone had slept on the sofa. I didn't think it was Mum. Dad rubbed warily at his temples when he saw Zan. "There's got to be another option," Mum said. Zan let me slip him into his high chair, also too small for him now, and I started putting all his favorite foods in front of him. No chimp loaf for him today. Not ever again if I could help it. "Helson's perfectly within his rights," Dad said, "even if he wants to sell Zan." I had an idea. What if we told the university here that Helson was going to sell Zan to the Thurston Foundation? Dad shook his head. Why on earth would a university be upset about legitimate scientific research? "You know the kinds of things they do at the Thurston Foundation," Mum said, slapping some burnt toast on his plate. "Sure," said Dad. "I also know they've produced a lot of very useful biomedical data and drugs that have helped thousands of people. We use animals to advance human science. It's completely acceptable. It's only a very small group of people who protest it. Ben, if you had a terrible disease, and I could use Zan to find a cure, but it would kill him, there'd be no hesitation. I'd sacrifice Zan's life in a second to save yours." I didn't know what to say. It meant Dad cared about me, but it wasn't really the answer I wanted. "I don't want Zan to be sacrificed at all," I said quietly. Dad pushed his burnt toast away and looked at Mum hard. "This isn't easy, and you've made it harder, bringing him back. But if Zan isn't returned, you're going to destroy your career, Sarah, and seriously harm mine." Mum said, "Maybe you should worry less about your career and more about your family, because that's going to be in serious trouble too if you don't do the right thing." I'd never seen Mum look so seriously and coldly at Dad. It was riveting and terrifying too, because it was the kind of look one chimp gave another. It meant, if only one of us is going to win this, it's going to be me. "The right thing?" said Dad with a frustrated laugh. "And what exactly would that be, Sarah?" "He's an animal, you're right," said Mum. "And we use them all the time. We eat them. We inject them. We kill them. Zan's not human, but we taught him he was. We raised him like a child. Our child. And we have responsibilities to him now, Richard. We do. We just can't abandon him to the Thurston Foundation." Her voice was hoarse. It is wrong. There was a knock at the door, and my heart lurched. I thought, police. The county sheriff with the big gut and gun on his belt, spitting tobacco juice on my shoe. "That's all right," said Mum. "It'll be Peter." "Peter?" I said in astonishment, and at the sound of his name, Zan started hooting. "Jack Helson flew him out to bring Zan back," Dad said. I ran to the door and threw it open for Peter. The taxi was just pulling away. "Hey, man," he said, looking exhausted. Come in," said Mum. I grabbed a suitcase and dragged it into the front hall. Peter looked at me. "You know why I'm here, right?" I nodded. "But you're not going to take him back, are you?" "Hell no," said Peter. "But Helson doesn't know that, and it got me a free ticket home. Is that bacon I smell?" We got him seated at the breakfast table, and I helped him get a big plate of bacon and eggs and made sure his toast wasn't burned. Dad let Peter eat for a few minutes and then said, "If you don't take Zan back, you're ending your academic career at Siegel. Maybe anywhere else, too." Peter shrugged. "I want what's best for Zan." I smiled. Mum and I had another ally. After breakfast, we all went outside into the backyard so Zan could play while we talked. There's no escaping the facts, Dad said. Zan is Helson's legal property, and if we don't return him, we'll be guilty of theft. He looked at Mum. And mail fraud if he finds out. You can go to jail for that, too. Helson wants money, right? I said to Peter. Definitely, yeah. So the university here won't buy him back? I asked Dad. Not a chance. I swallowed. Well, if they won't buy him back, I will. Dad sighed. Okay, let's just say that's possible. Let's say you came up with $10,000 and buy Zan back. We own a chimp. Then what? We'd already talked about this. We'd need a new, stronger building to contain Zan. We'd need to feed him and hire people to work with him. We'd need land to give him proper room to play. Buying Zan was one thing. Taking care of him, paying for him for the rest of his life, that was something else. It would mean a total change in our lives, Dad said, and I'm not willing to make that change. It's not what I want, and I doubt it's what your mother wants either. I looked at Mum. Mum, I said. She shook her head slowly. But we stole him together. We wanted him home. I'm sorry, Ben. I didn't want him to go to a biomedical lab, but he can't stay here forever. I'm kind of with your parents on this one, man, Peter said, surprising me. You want Zan, I know, but there's something you couldn't give him up here. Other chimps. Like they were so great, I said sarcastically. He does need them, though, Peter said. He needs companionship. He needs to be among his own kind. He was starting to integrate. I think Helson just expected too much too fast. But it would have happened. I turned to look at Zan in our tree. I remembered how frightened he'd been the first time I'd held him in the lowest branch, waiting for him to cling and go swinging. It had taken him a long time to want to climb a tree. Now he went as high as he could go. Wild chimps lived in trees. They lived in jungles. They lived in colonies. They hunted and shared and killed, just like us. It was hard for me to say, but I did. We could send him back to Africa, give him back what we took. Utter fantasy, scoffed Dad. Oh, Ben, said Mum, I don't think that's even an option. He'll never be a wild chimp. Peter nodded. I don't think he'd make it. It'd be like dumping you in the jungle, Ben. How long would you survive? So what's left, I said. A zoo? I didn't much like that idea, but anything was better than seeing him disappear inside a lab forever. No, said Peter. A sanctuary. From his pocket he fished out a pamphlet. I recognized it from the William Eckler talk we'd done together. We'd gone to together. There's this place in Florida, said Peter. He passed me the crumpled leaflet. There were buildings with cages, just like at Helson's. But there were also islands and wooden bridges and high platforms and ropes to climb. Looks like a zoo, I said with a shrug. What's the difference? No experiments, for starters. Not even sign language experiments. The chips are fed, cared for, enriched, but basically left alone. It's their home. Where do the chimps come from? Mum asked. All sorts of places, Peter said. From the entertainment industry when they aren't young and cute anymore. From people who bought them as little pets and then figured out they were too big and strong. From biomedical labs, too, when they've used the chimps all up. I doubt they buy the chimps, though, Dad said. I don't know, said Peter. We'd brought Zan all this way home, and here we were talking about how to send him away again. It seemed so pointless and stupid and cruel. Even if I could buy Zan back, even if I won, I'd lose. I'd lose Zan. Later in the afternoon, when Zan was having some quiet time with Peter in his room, and Mum and Dad were out getting groceries, I took Peter's pamphlet and dialed the number of the sanctuary in Florida. Someone picked up. There was a lot of background noise. It sounded like a kitchen. Pots clanging. I heard the hooting of chimps. I guess with the time difference, it was dinner in Florida. Hello? Said a woman's slightly harried voice. Hi, I said. I was wondering if you wanted another chimp for your sanctuary. Who's calling, please? My name's Ben. I have a chimp. Well, I used to have a chimp, but It felt so awkward to talk about Zan like this. He's going to be sold to a biomedical lab for tests. Do you know which one? The Thurston Foundation. Uh-huh, she said, in a way that told me she knew all about it and what went on inside. I don't want him to go there, I said. Can you help him? I heard her sigh. How old are you, Ben? 15. Where's your chimp right now? At home, in Victoria, BC, but he's owned by Siegel University. Jack Helson? Yeah, he's supposed to go back. Look, we don't buy chimps. We don't have the money, and we don't rescue them either. We don't go charging in and break them out, you understand? She said bluntly. Yes, ma'am, sure, I said. I heard her sigh again, like she felt bad about something. What we do, she said, is offer a home for chimps that people don't want anymore. But if I could get him, would you take him? If you got him legally, owned him, yes, we would talk about it. Absolutely, Ben. Okay, I said. Thanks. Good luck, she said.